Hello and welcome to Politically Incorrect Knitters. My name is Anne Pinkava, joined as always by the lovely Deplorable Knitter.
Hi, everyone.
And this week's episode is sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. You can use our promo code PIKDeplorables20 to get 20% off your order. And she also has some more of her special Christmas self-striping yarn still in stock. It's called Peppermint Stick. You can either buy it as a single bunch of yarn, but she does have an option where it is separated out into two smaller skeins in case you want to do 2 at a time socks or anything else. She also has a great selection of yarn, both raised and milled locally to her with the Grand Valley yarns, and also selections of yarn in fingering, DK, and worsted that are all made in America. So please check her out. And again, our promo code is PIK Deplorables20 for 20% off your order.
So Anne, what's new in the knitting world for you this week?
So new for me in the knitting world is also same for me in the knitting world, in that, again, I have all these stockings. I started on the 4th one or the 5th one. There's 6 total. So they all look the same. And I've still been working on the Rockefeller shawl, getting that finished out. Like I said last week, I have a project that I want to be spinning for, but I've had spinning wheel issues. And I'd like to thank everyone for their different suggestions, and someone offered to produce the part. So I wanted to actually show the part because, first of all, thank you all again, but also the part is just a small piece of metal. So it's very simple that way. And I went to Lowe's yesterday to figure out, where to get what. And I got these, which seem to be roughly the same diameter. They're hinge pins for like garage doors or something like that. So basically I'm just going to find somebody to cut these down so I can have the part again. So it'll be a process, but that's what I got.
So you're working it out. You figured it out. You
right.
were a random girl in Lowe's with this thing going, do you know anything that looks like this?
That is exactly what I did. I called an employee over and I'm looking at all of these nails and I'm like, okay, so I want it to be a smooth surface. And there was one, it was like a spike for roofing that looked to be the same diameter, but it was sort of a rough surface. And I'm like, and especially since the spinning wheel squeaks anyways when you use it. So I want it to be something a little more abrasive, or not abrasive. And yeah, and they were very nice too. They even suggested a welder in case I couldn't find anyone else. I should be able to get it done and sanded and reasonable. But like I said, it's just a silly part. It's not like a woodworking part or something that way. It's just this stupid metal pin. Yeah. So hopefully.
It's funny. When you were talking about it last week, I was on the same wavelength as our viewers, thinking it was some sort of like wooden peg thing that you needed to fit in there, but
Right. No, it's not anything near as complicated. It's just,
I think especially when you said you had used a broken knitting needle to try to fix it, that's probably why everybody's head went that way.
Right.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it like I said, it's not as complicated as a part. It's just odd and specific. And so hopefully that will be all sorted out so I can be back to spinning.
Cool. Very good. So for me this week, I've done this much knitting. It's a 2x2 rib. It's going to be a plain 2x2 rib. But really, I've been getting ready for my surgery, doing things around the house. I have all of my Christmas presents wrapped. I am never that person. I am always like 2 days before Christmas finishing stuff. So I did all of that. But also this week, put a little cramp in my plans. I have been on quarantine for COVID because of my friend that I came into contact with who ended up with it. So I'm technically not out of quarantine until Friday at midnight. And today's Thursday. I did go get my COVID test today for my surgery, so I'll know within 24 or 48 hours whether or not I have it and whether or not I'm going to actually be able to go ahead with my surgery. So
Right.
We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Hopefully.
I'm kind of on the fence because I don't really want to have surgery, but on the other hand, it's like, I'll just have to plan it another time. I've already planned it now, so.
Right.
So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, so I've been doing that kind of life stuff, and I'm super spoiled. My mom and my mother-in-law are always helping me with things. My dad and my stepmom are always taking the kids on the weekends and stuff, but because I've been quarantined and my kids are my absolute best friends and they're like always right here, we've been on our own. So that's been different and fun and tiring. But that's what's going on in this household for sure. But yeah, that's it. I'm pretty boring this week.
Right. And that is also a programming thing for us as well, because we expected you to have time off, and next week for Thanksgiving, that my plan was I was going to do a solo show, have a mini Thanksgiving special for y'all. So we'll see how that works.
Yeah. So next week, what day is it going to be? The 20. Okay, so next
Saturday's
week on the
27th.
27th, it's going to be streaming live on her own. She's going to be big and brave and do it all by herself. And she's going to do a little a little Thanksgiving episode for you guys. So make sure you tune in and check her out. And yeah, I will be in my bed, hopefully sleeping while she's doing that. So,
right. So yeah, that'll all be good. And like we said before, we have a couple of interview episodes that we have coming out too.
Yep. We planned ahead so that you guys wouldn't miss us for any length of time at all while I'm laid off. Mm-hmm. And we don't have an exact plan for when I come back, but make sure you just watch. There'll be a couple of weeks probably where I'm not going to be sending emails. I'm the one that usually sends the emails. So if you rely on those, just make sure you ring the bell on YouTube or get the episode updates from Rumble, because they'll come to your inbox and then you'll know we're live, or they'll ping your phone or whatever they do. Because I might not be sending emails depending on how I feel. I might just be clicking a couple buttons to make things live and going back to bed. So, don't rely on those. So.
Right. And and then after that, you're having your surgery, waiting for recovering time. And then right after that, we are right into Christmas season.
Right.
So yes, so we have some Christmas specials planned for everyone, and it's going to be a grand old time. Oh,
we do.
I should also, do a little bit of promotion that this year Hanukkah is early, and it's starting end of November. So still time to make a Israeli beanie if y'all are interested.
Yes. Check out her patterns found on Lovecrafts. Is that one on Lovecrafts and Galley Life?
Yep, Lovecrafts, Galley Life, and on Etsy.
Oh, okay. The trifecta. Cool. So yeah. So that's what's happening. That's the housekeeping here. And if you guys are still looking for a Christmas gift, because I know it's that time, or a Hanukkah gift, or whatever holiday you celebrate, you can always check out our friend Cody Schlegel's book. Once again this week, I was listening to this book. I was loving it, and all of a sudden it turned into an LGBTQIA plus alphabet soup kind of thing going on. And I was so mad because it didn't happen until I was over halfway through the book, and I was really into it. And then it just totally brought me out of the story. And if you're tired of that happening, check out Cody's book. Cody is, it's a fantasy novel that is based on, Homer and fairy tales that we're all used to, but there's no agenda. It is just a fantasy for a fantasy's sake. And so if that's something that you want, check out Odyssey Tale. You can get it from Amazon, and it is an excellent story. And I highly recommend it for anybody who's into that stuff and is so tired. I'm so tired of loving a book and then getting mad halfway through it. And then, because then you don't even want to finish it. So if you're tired of that, check them out.
Yep.
Have you listened yet, Anne?
I have not listened yet. I'm sorry.
And
I have it. I have the Audible version downloaded on my phone though. So because you can get it, like I said, Audible, ebook, regular book, they're all out there. But yeah, I have it downloaded and yeah, I haven't yet listened to it. I'm sorry.
well, maybe by the time we're back together in person, Anne will have found the time to read it. I think that gives you 3 or 4 weeks. So
Right.
you know,
So I'll get on
there's
it.
a goal for you, Anne.
All right. No, I think I said before that, speaking of different representative groups and everything, that not this past week, because like I said, I haven't had time, but I've been listening to the James Bond books in succession. And anyways, James is a very distinct character, and I didn't know that before I read the books. The books are not what I expected them to be, that they are very precise, and he is quite a personality. But anyways, it just reminded me because you were talking about the specific agendas in books, and that it is very refreshing when you just listen and know that there's not qualifiers on it, that you have characters from different backgrounds and different beliefs, and you have other characters that may have rude opinions, but it's not like, oh, well, the rude opinion is right, but the rude opinion is like, that's how the character is, that helps you understand the character better.
Right. I don't want people to think that like I'm against, like if people are gay or whatever, that doesn't bother me. It's the fact that it turns into like this preaching at me thing is where my issue comes in.
Right. It's that a character isn't just what the character is, that the character, again, signals the correct political opinion by having this character exactly in the way. He's not a person, he's a forced ideal. He's a
he's an agenda. He's a exactly.
It's like stop the bus because we have to make a statement. Like, please stop. I just wanted to read a story about people.
And if you're gonna do that, like put a disclaimer in the front, like, hey, we're going to totally be all about X, Y, and Z, because I'm so tired of getting into something and being like, for real, people, again. But hey, what are you going to do? You can find non-woke authors like Cody.
There you go. Like I said, his book is called Odyssey Tale. Check it out.
Yes. I will drop the link for you guys so that everybody can see what we're talking about. So Anne.
Yes.
I have once again not watched the news. What can you tell me?
Well, here, let's start international and come on back. So brief updates from around the world. We have Australia still sucks. Just in case we forgot, still bad. Video this week of a man in a wheelchair beaten by police and turned out of his wheelchair. So that's super cool.
That doesn't seem like it's something that is super cool, actually.
No, wait. Oh, crud. I got that confused. No, wait, that's terrible. Australia still stinks. There was a large protest in Melbourne, Australia, which is estimated over 100,000 people were there. So that's good. There's different bills going through Australian Parliament that have been held up, and stuff's going on, but it's all weird. Then in Europe, Austria has now had lockdown for the unvaccinated only. And again, video of the police can stop anyone on the street for their papers. And it's like, oh, well, it's a phone. Oh, well, that doesn't make it better. And if you're walking through a shopping mall, like, oh man, I'd like to buy myself a new puffy jacket. And the police will be like, you're not allowed to be here. And Germany is thinking to follow suit because Germans, following the lead of an Austrian, have never had a problem when it came to requiring certain people to be segregated from others.
So I've been reading a lot of World War II stories lately. I'm not sure why specifically. They've just been coming up in my library. I think they suggest things similar to what I've read. So like all of a sudden I'm like in this loop of World War II stuff. And the whole phrase, those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. I'm reading this stuff and I'm like, oh my God, this could almost be things that they're doing to people now. I mean, obviously there's not the concentration camps and stuff, but a lot of like the papers and the segregating and I'm like, you guys should like read these books, because I don't think this is what you think it is. Like, the difference is very.
Again, in Australia, they built the quarantine camps, and they're building some in the state of Oregon. So, yeah. So that's garbage.
Super.
Other big things in the news is that there was a attempted terrorist attack this last week in Liverpool. A taxi cab driver named David Perry, he was driving along, and guy gets in the back and says that he wants to go to this big it was on this past Sunday, so Remembrance Sunday in England, and he wanted to go to this big event, but the roads were blocked, and this guy was clearly agitated in the back seat, and the taxi driver's like, look, sorry, I mean, we're not gonna be able to get you all the way there. And he looks back and he realizes that that the guy in the taxi is very agitated. B, he's wearing very bulky clothing, and then there's this box on the side that has a light on it that he keeps fooling with. And so the guy is like, oh man, like, this is weird. And then he's like, no, this woman's hospital will do. Just pull in here. And the taxi driver goes, no, it's definitely a terrorist. So he pulls off somewhere else away from people, locks the guy in the car and books it, and the car explodes. And
really, that's insane.
Just a little mushroom cloud right there in the street. He had some injuries from the shrapnel, but otherwise is doing all right. Like I said, congrats to him, David Perry. But the media coverage of this has just been bizarre. It's, man 32 dies in explosion, and it's like, you mean the guy who's had the bomb strapped on him? You mean that guy? You mean and it's like a big smiling photo of him, like, oh, isn't this nice? It looks like he took a photo in a park or something. It's like, you mean the terrorist? You mean the guy who wanted to harm as many people as possible and would have blown up the women's hospital as opposed to the Remembrance Sunday event, because, whichever one is more convenient to drive to? Like,
I don't know, man.
And so
you said you've been reading a lot of James Bonds. This sounds like something that would have come out of one of those books.
Right. Oh, definitely. And they have raised the terror rating, but it's I mean, again, media coverage is what it is, that it's biased in England as well as America as well as anywhere else. But that they just had the one member of parliament who was stabbed, and that you have all of these issues, and it's like, and let's just sweep that one right under the rug as fast as possible. And the terror rating has been raised in England, as the comedian Leo Kurtz has joked, it's been raised to mostly peaceful.
I'm sorry, that's funny.
But so that's going on in England. And again, what a guy to realize what's going on, not put himself in harm's way. He was in harm's way already, but to make sure that everyone else was out of harm's way and saved lives in doing that was very impressive.
It sure is.
Other less dramatic English news, but still a bit of a slap in the face, it's the 20th anniversary of the Harry Potter movies. So they're inviting all of the cast, but not the author, that they're purposefully excluding J.K. Rowling from her
because she's a TERF.
That's right, from her own achievement, even though I saw one tweet, it was just total and complete nonsense, saying that, why should the three main actors in Harry Potter feel as if they should be grateful to J.K. Rowling, because obviously it was the movies that made J.K.'s career right here.
I don't know what is wrong with people. Yeah, the actors did bring something to it as far as the movie goes, but it's her story. And if she had never written it, none of them would be who they are. I think people tend to forget that, like that you just didn't do that on your own, buddy.
Mhm. Right. And I mean, all of her tweets that she has put out, no, she has nothing against trans people, that she's,
Mm-hmm.
that she doesn't think any less of them, but she is just for the definition of words, the definition that, being a woman is intrinsic to who she is, as is most of us, that it's a part of you. And you can't just say that the meaning of that can be changed on a dime.
Right.
That it's not disrespecting someone as a person to, say that words have meanings and it's a specific meaning.
But that's the problem. They want to change the meanings when it suits them.
Mm-hmm.
So we can be great, strong women, and then, but now dudes want to be women, so now we're going to change it all to persons. Well, you're devaluing an entire sex because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I believe it's an excerpt from
irreparable damage.
Yep, that I saw an excerpt from that it's, well, when you're talking about women without saying women, that you bring what a woman is down to basically birthers or bleeders, which is really, talk about denigrating. Like, this is all you are. This bodily function is it in your identity as a woman. And it's like, now you need to reject that totally. And anyways, that is something that J.K. Rowling has said. And again, HBO is putting on this big 20th anniversary special. It's like, no, sorry. So
yeah, anyway, let's move on to something else.
So talking about non-useful female achievement, as opposed to useful female achievement in one of the best-selling authors in the world, Miss Rowling, about our lovely vice president.
Jeez, freaking Kamala, right? So I saw this morning. It was one of those things where I was going through Instagram Reels and I just saw some stuff. So it's neither, I didn't see the actual clip on Fox News, but this is where it's from. And one of their political correspondents was saying that they had received a message from someone saying that that he should review the procedure on reinstating on what the procedure is for confirming a new vice president in the House and the Senate, because there's talk about Kamala possibly, because of the rift between her and Joe and everything, that she might not be there much longer, which is not how I expected this to go. From what I understood, they were going to get rid of Joe and put her in, but her numbers are so low that I think they're scared.
Right. Well, not even that. I mean, Joe's numbers ain't high, but
they're not as bad.
Right.
And people don't hate his face nearly as much as they don't like hers.
I know, she opens her mouth and...
Dude, I see her and I cringe.
I know. Well, and part of the thing with, putting Joe on the podium, that it's like this incoherent mumble. It's like, do you really cringe, or is it just like, this man is a bowl of cold porridge? And if his words were spoken by anything else, I'd probably be more concerned, but he's just so bland and doddering that it's really hard to, get any sort of emotion out of him. I mean, even with the whole Hunter Biden scandal and the keep 10% for the big guy being Joe, and this past week, Chairman G being all like, oh yes, my old friend Joe Biden, yeah, because he's totally in his pocket. You have all of these issues, but again, you see this old man shuffle, and it's kind of difficult to be like, ooh, it's like a chilling when it comes to the emotion, like, wow, this guy is really screwing up our country. Then you see him and you're just like, that's just sad.
He is just sad. But you talking about the chairman and stuff, I think you were the one that shared the clip of there was some Asian man talking to the PBS journalist, and they were trying to get him to say that President Trump was an authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, you have to have people backing you to be an authoritarian. One guy on his own is not one. And like it totally like blew the reporter's mind because, you know, she's trying to get him to be like, oh yeah, no, that's more like Joe than like Trump.
Yeah, the authoritarians are the people you can't question. That's how you know. Just like you know, whenever the next fluff news piece come out, it's like, oh, where do you have to dig for the real information? Where they've piled the dirt so high that it's obvious.
Dude,
But
it's messed up. That's all I know.
Very
but I don't know what they're going to do with Joe and Kamala because neither one of them is liked.
Right.
And even people who like Joe are now like, I don't really think he's doing a good job. So like, where do they go from here?
I know. And with Kamala specifically, that she is, you know, that she was, when she was a candidate, that nobody voted for her. Like it was a very, very small amount. And then she became vice president. So kind of a weird, who are they appeasing with this? And then nobody liked her there. But at the same time, you know, vice president that like no actual votes of the people will touch whoever the new vice president is. They can throw anyone in there they like. It doesn't matter. That it's more of a, you know, the most popular, most voted for president ever, and the, you know, and then the approval numbers afterwards, if, you know, you weren't suspicious already. And then you have, you know, oh, so we're gonna, again, rumors and whispers of we're going to put in a new vice president. Oh, so is that who you really wanted to be president? Because he's having some issues.
I don't know. It still boggles my mind that they ever thought she was a good choice for anything. And
in other news, that OSHA has suspended Biden's vax mandate following
there is that
lawsuits. So yes, that is definitely a good thing.
So even though OSHA has put a pause on this, the timeline is so short that if this is overturned at some point, they're not going to have much time to do it. So they're saying lawyers are still telling people to continue acting like the mandate's going to happen, because they won't have enough time to get everything done.
That's one of the issues, you know, with the vaccine mandates at all, that it's people wondering how long can you hold out, and it's a flinch from the other side, and people are saying no, go forward with it, go, you know, keep going anyways. And then it's like no, there's a reason why there's this flinch on the other side. Hold your ground. Right. And also with different, okay, so I've said before how I get like Yahoo News alerts that I did not sign up for, and iHeart radio, you know, news things, and I'm just like, whoa, this is absolute trash. Apparently, and I don't even use the iHeartRadio app. I signed up because someone said, oh, listen to my show, and then I never did. And then they send me news alerts. I'm like, what is this crap?
Don't you love it when you sign up for something and then you get mail from it and you're like, I don't even know what this is. Why are you here?
Get away from me. Gosh. Anyways, that's actually could be my baseline political statement right there. Just back off. Back off.
Buddy. I don't know you.
Yeah.
You're not my friend.
Get off my lawn. Like, I didn't invite you.
My husband. He's just waiting until he's old enough to have a cane because he wants to do this to kids on the front lawn. Get off my lawn with his cane. You guys would be friends if you ever got the chance to meet.
There you go. Should get together sometime.
Get together and yell at the kids. Anyway, sorry.
A grand old time. That the iHeartRadio news app and Yahoo News or whichever, they're the same. It's the same garbage that I'm sent to all the time. So I get them a little muddled. But they were talking about how, you know, even raising wages has not made people come back to work. It's crazy. There's so many incentives right now to work, and, you know, people just won't. Like, this is the only time where it's the liberals complaining about people not working. I've never heard this before in my life. It's like, I just don't understand why people won't take an experimental medical what's with that? Take experimental medical treatment when we told them that we'd take away their livelihood if they didn't. It's just, what?
It's so strange. The company my husband works for, has staff that's kind of entry level, but they actually do most of the work. There's this like not entry level staff, but there's staff that are like the front facing public staff that have to do, they do a lot of work so that everybody in the office has a job. Like if they don't have the frontline staff, then there's nothing for anybody to do inside the buildings. And apparently they have over 500 open positions in this part of the company, and they're expecting to lose at least 10% of the ones they have currently when the vaccine mandates go in to effect. And he was telling me, he's like, do you know anybody who needs a job who's been vaccinated? Because if they take a job and they stay for 90 days, we get money. And I'm like, oh, I don't know anybody who needs a job, but I'll keep that in mind.
Right.
And about my friends to make some money. Hey, Ann, do you need a new job?
Absolutely
it's a national
not.
company. But
no,
it's just
doesn't need heart problems.
But the thing with the frontline staff is that they are I was the frontline staff when I met my husband at this job. They're underappreciated. They're overworked. I used to work like 15 days in a row without a day off, or sometimes 20. Like they take such advantage of their people. It's not the best pay. And then you're going to lose your job if you don't get a vaccine. Well, why am I doing this for you anyway? This is the point I got to. I'm like, wait, I had a day off in like 3 weeks, so I'm going to say no to you. They just, I don't know, the people that are their minimum wage workers, they expect a lot from everyone at that company, but they really expect the people who, I mean, we would work the worst shifts and the worst hours, and we'd be working for like 14 hours a day and driving a couple 100 miles round trip and stuff. And they'd be like, oh, and I'll be back in at 5 tomorrow. Like, who wants to do that job? It's terrible. But anyway, that's my story.
It's very true too. And even I think I saw like Arby's the other day, and I've heard a little bit about our local Arby's not being a very nice place to work. And it's like now they're like $15-16 an hour. I'm like, whoa. That they're, I mean, just extremely desperate for workers.
They're extremely desperate, but all of this stuff is just wrecking things for our retired people.
Mm-hmm.
The cost of everything going up is just hurting. More so, that's what people don't get. Oh, raise the minimum wage, everybody will be happier. Except when you raise the minimum wage, you raise it for everybody. So people who are on fixed incomes are in a lot of trouble. And those people have already paid their dues and worked their jobs most often. So you're just screwing over the guy who did it right.
Right. And that's kind of what we have with a lot of our liberal policies, that we have so much, I mean, that raising the minimum wage creates inflation. It's like at the same time, we have massive, just stupid inflation already, that, you know, by every month, the value of the dollar goes down significantly. And it's an issue. It's a huge issue. So it's like, oh, well, $15 an hour. Well, you did it, Bernie. You did it. And in a couple of years, if you're really lucky, we'll all be those rich billionaires. And by those rich billionaires, I mean money is totally worthless, and we'll have wheelbarrows of it to buy bread. What a good time. You saved us all.
Right. But the thing that people don't take into account is minimum wage jobs are not made for people to make a living off of. yeah, there's circumstances where there's not a lot of jobs and that might be all you can get. And,
Right.
but that's not the norm.
Yeah, you do
I mean,
not raise a family on a minimum wage job. Minimum wage is entry wage. And then once you work in the company a while, you get a raise, you get a promotion, you get,
right. But,
further.
my husband has put in 24 years. No, I'm sorry. He's put in 20 years at his current job.
Mhm.
He makes like 20 something an hour, 20, I don't know. But
Mhm.
so when you raise the minimum wage, somebody who's worked in the same job for 20 years is getting screwed. Like
Right.
nobody thinks about that stuff. They're not going to give him a raise.
Mhm.
They're not going to
Well,
be like, oh, hey, you've been here forever. So here's some more money to do. No, they're going to be like, well, aren't we lucky that we've had him for 20 years and now we're not paying him that much anymore
right.
compared to like,
No, definitely. And I was talking to a lady this week, and she was talking about her own job situation and how she found out she's been working at her current place for a couple of years, and she found out that someone else who she's been working with and who has been there longer, makes several dollars less than her an hour because there wasn't that hiring incentive when this other lady started than when she did. And she's like, whoa, this isn't right. You've been working again the same grueling hours, the same, hard job, and they're short staffed too. So you have to pick up shifts from everybody else. And it is a genuine problem. But yeah, it's just the whole flux of money and everything going up is crazy.
I don't know, it's scary. And one of my neighbors just got diagnosed with cancer, and I know that they're traveling every day to one of the nearby cities, and he can't work anymore, and she can't work because she has to take him to treatment, and now they can't pay for gas because it's gone up so high.
Mhm.
Like, this is the world we're living. And the liberals, oh, this is great. Oh, let's just use our petroleum. Is that the correct word? That sounds wrong. The reserves, the petroleum reserves.
Oh yeah, let's use the reserves.
Let's just use the National Reserve to fix things for a minute. No, that's putting a band-aid on a hole in a boat. Come on.
Yeah, and also the reserves are reserves for a reason. Let's shut down oil production in America, which is again much cleaner. Oh, we could, great. Let's buy oil from Saudi Arabia and have it shipped to us, which takes oil to do, and that there are oil spills every year that you don't hear about, but they happen. But that's better for the environment instead of making it the cleanest way in the world here at home in America, American jobs. You're not shipping it as far. Oil fracking, so there isn't as much like physical ground damage when you drill for oil. All of these nice clean practices. No. Let's say no to all the things that make sense. Let's enrich other people in a less environmentally friendly way because we said it's greener if it's not on our front door. That clean things happen far away where we can't see them.
It's better to do that. And then because that's not the problem, man. I just read an article that told me what the problem is, okay?
Oh,
Cow burps. Cow burps are the problem.
it's the cow's fault that's destroying the environment.
Yes. And I'm not sure how they came to this conclusion because there's always been cows. And there used to be a lot more cows and animals roaming free, but now
I was about to say, before us evil colonizers came to America, there's like buffaloes and cows, and I mean, certainly enough for the carbon emissions of the whole world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it's not, making oil is bad, but importing it from Saudi Arabia is better, and we're gonna have to eat fake meat here. That's gonna be the answer. When my kids are grown and have their own kids, they're gonna tell stories like, hey, when I was a kid, we went to this thing, it was called a dairy farm, and you wouldn't believe it, there were cows as far as the eye could see. And their kids won't believe them. They'll think they're making it up.
Uh-huh. Be like, but Ma, we only eat dirt.
We only eat what?
We only eat dirt.
Oh, I really took the kids to a dairy farm,
Mhm.
and when you milk them, they're up higher, which I didn't know. So like their feet are like right here by your head, and so what happens is while they're getting milked, they are also going to the bathroom, and it bounces on the concrete floor, and then it shoots onto your head because it's right here.
Oh.
And let me tell you, it shot onto one of my kids, and that was a bad day for them.
Oh, that's bad.
It was really funny for the rest of us, but I was trying to be sympathetic, and I was trying
like,
to laugh
quietly. Sorry, kiddo. That's kind of part of the thing, though, that like, oh, well, it's a dirty business. Like, oh, well, life is dirty. Life is full of poop. And if you don't think life is full of poop, then you haven't lived around how real life works.
Yeah, you need a couple more years. Have a couple kids and then tell me about poop, okay?
Right.
Tell me.
Well,
but anyway.
Yeah, it's kind of the issue that people who run farms aren't vegan. And you'd think that vegans would want to volunteer at farms to make sure that animals have the best lives ever. I heard it was some interview with a lady from PETA talking about how lovely and sentient cows are. And after all, they can recognize up to 50 other cows and they can see each other and, they form friendships. And why would we kill such lovely creatures? And I'm like, oh, I forgot about the great cow civilization and the great cow literary background that these cows have given me. Oh, wait, they're not. I'm not saying that cows ought to be mistreated, but you have a very low bar for sentient there. It's like, I'm like, oh, this cow can recognize 50 cows. I bet I could recognize more cows if I tried. I bet I could.
So this has nothing to do with anything, but talking about vegans on a farm and taking care of the animals and stuff. I like to listen to serial killer podcasts. It's kind of this thing I do. Well, not serial killer, but like true crime. And actually right before we met, I was listening to one about this person named Susan Monica, who was killing guys and feeding them to her pigs. And then what she wanted to do once she got arrested for the crime was to slaughter the pigs and give them to the community center. And people were like, you cannot give the pigs to people to eat that you fed other people to. Like, that's not how this works. God. So anyway, that was just a really random story I just heard about. So I told you I'm not on par today.
I was okay. It's like, how dare you think of killing those pigs? Clearly, they have souls.
Anyways,
do
you have any other things that you wanted to tell us about? Because I have been remiss in my paying attention to most anything.
Wait, I mean, not much has happened in the Rittenhouse trial. I mean, I'm sure many of you have also been watching, yes, and waiting now that they haven't given the verdict. And then it was something about a video. And I think that it was a back and forth between the prosecution and defense because the prosecution had not given the defense the full quality video. Now there's just hours and hours and hours of footage, and which is why this case is so solid, because I mean, you have the sort of media saying this and media saying that, and oh, Kyle Rittenhouse is a racist. It's like there's only white guys involved here. Just recently, they said, Jump Kick Man, quote unquote, came forward. They didn't know who it was. He is the only Black guy involved in this incident. Again, if it is confirmed to be him, I'm not sure if it's said to be him and he came forward, but we'll see how that goes.
Right.
But again, the only Black guy in this incident who tried to kick Kyle's head in and was not injured and left.
Yeah. So I was telling Anne, and I'm a little bit embarrassed about this, but because of I didn't pay much attention when it happened. A lot of other things were going on, and
But it
I
was the
thought that
summer of
Kyle,
love. So there's a lot of
right,
stuff going
right.
in every which direction.
I think I was more interested in the Chad stuff, and
Yeah.
you know, there were lots of things happening at the same time, and I was one of those people who thought that Kyle Rittenhouse had actually shot Black people. And I think I thought that because, you know, you hear about Black Lives Matters, you know, it was a Black Lives Matters protest, and they're out there protesting now. And I just realized like this week that they were all white dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes to show you that even I'm someone who pays attention to the news and I watch alternate media, and I still didn't know. So can you imagine what people who only like read or listen to mainstream media believe?
No, that
Like,
there's a lot of there was another tweet this past week where it's some guy saying that, well, you know, whatever the Rittenhouse verdict is, you should let your Black employees have a couple days off to like process this. And it was I believe Zuby from Zuby Music who replied like, you know, like, wow, you must think you're awfully special. And again, no Black people were killed. That the it's amazing to me that the 3 people injured were just horrible people. That you have the guy who was shot first, Mr. Rosenbaum, who was a multiple time offender for pedophilia, that actually would find single mothers to date them to abuse their kids. Okay, that he was just sincerely horrible. You know, led out that day of a mental institute for attempted suicide, and not only that, but he had different offenses against him in jail. I'm like, how did this guy get out? He's just horrible. Again, just violent videos of him earlier that night. You know, he was the guy yelling different racial insults at people, and there was a couple of Black guys standing there while he was yelling these things, and you could tell that they kind of looked at him like, oh, I'm going to say something, and then they're like, no, he crazy, just gonna let that one slide because he's nuts and violent, and had a chain with him throughout the evening. And again, Kyle, he threw a bag at Kyle before he was shot. He was running after Kyle, and he threw a bag at him, and Kyle knew he had a chain, and he said, you know, in the light, he thought it was the chain that he threw. Okay, but this man was threatening him, yelling at him, screaming at him, chasing him in this situation. And you're a 17-year-old boy in an alley, and there's a crowd of people behind coming after you. It's terrifying. And you have the other man who had a pistol. He was Kyle was hit in the head with a skateboard, and someone says, oh well, skateboards aren't a big deal. That is a solid wooden object with a sharp edge when you hit it at somebody. And it's, like I said, it's a terrifying case. With all that happened. And once you see the footage, you realize that, you know, Kyle, if he hadn't have acted, he would be dead. He would be dead, and, you know, probably forgotten, sadly enough, like other people who died in these riots, like David Dorn and others. And like, oh, the defense or the prosecution is like, oh well, he brought a gun to a fist fight, to a bar fight. Yeah, like we're all buddies hanging around. The 17-year-old kid running from the adults who are attacking them, one of which had a gun. And again, the man with a gun, he shot in the arm, and therefore couldn't shoot him. So that was, you know, again, good shot. I don't know if he specified for the arm, but it's how it's, you know, played out. And he also has violent offenses against him. That it's, you know, gosh, and it's really rough, of course, because the jury has that there's reports of people filming the jury. MSNBC has just been banned from the courtroom today because they sent someone to follow the van that the jury is in, obviously trying to out them. That they're, yes, So
why would MSNBC be doing that? Shouldn't a jury in our country, we have the right to a fair, unbiased trial by jury, and we're not supposed to intimidate the jury or out them, or this is a big case. This is a big deal. Why would MSNBC ever do that?
Well,
I understand why, Anne. I'm just saying that, like, anybody with a functioning brain should be looking at that going, that's not how justice in America works. That's how justice works in, like, I don't know. I was going to say a third world country, but I don't even think that. I think like a communist regime, like, oh, we're just going to pretend that it's a real trial and intimidate people who don't agree with us.
Right. And that sort of plays into the media, and that they take freedom of the press, this and that, but at the same time, they only believe that they are the real press and other people are pretenders. And, you know, where did that come from? Like this Project Veritas had James O'Keefe, the founder of Project Veritas, has just had his house raided for a alleged diary of I forget, Ashley Biden is her name, right?
Yes.
Right. And this happened, and it was sort of like, oh, well, that's okay because he's not a real journalist. He's just like, he's doing undercover video, and he never published that because the situation where he was given it was kind of weird and he couldn't verify it. So he's like, no, that doesn't hold up to my standards. I'm not going to publish this. And his house was raided for it. And again, freedom of the press, except for you, because we don't like you.
Right. And his house was raided for it, and they said that it was the real thing. And in it said that she was molested by her father. He would like take showers with her, I think. Yeah. So in that journal, they saw that Ashley Biden was, you know, her dad was taking showers with her and stuff, which is shady as shit. And he could have totally messed up Biden's career, but because he couldn't verify the source, he didn't move with the information. So therefore, that makes him more of a real journalist than any of the other hacks that we have going on right now. That's all I know about that.
Well, definitely. And not only, you know, this case, I mean, we already had the issue with Hunter Biden's laptop, and that story got out and then was totally suppressed by Twitter and Facebook and the rest of it. That this is an important story. Again, you know, 10% for the big guy, and different corporate dealings and money, and, you know, not to mention all the crack and prostitutes. I mean, it's expensive, let me tell you. But that all of these different—
How do you know? So you've heard, huh?
I've heard. It was Hunter Biden's laptop, which people were polled afterwards. Hey, have you heard about this story? No. Would that have changed your vote? Yes. So that is a very, you know, talk about election interference in the sort of vague sense that if people were to know the truth, their vote would be changed. Even the simplest version of I'm suppressing that story, you're not allowed to see it. And that is also what's happening with Kyle Rittenhouse. That if you talk about him, if there's any, you know, if you just say like, oh, well, I think I'm watching this case and I think it's justified self-defense, bam, that it's an issue. That's suppression in that way, that it's one side getting suppressed and the other side, you know, one side, you know, one man can steal a horse and the other can't look over the fence, as the old saying goes. And that you have this, and with Project Veritas, and so they came in for the Ashley Biden diary, but they also took other things and other original sources from James O'Keefe's phone, that they took his phone and seized it in the thing, and other laptops, other electronic devices. And all of the FDA whistleblowers that come to him, the different school boards and other things. So it's like, oh, well, the FBI broke down your door for a lost diary, which again, shady, but also what else did they take? What other stories was he working on is, I think, a valid question.
Oh, no, it truly is. But, well, I think that this administration, if nothing else, has proven how messed up our actual government is and how the people in power are in power just for themselves and for their buddies, and they're not really looking out for any of us. So
well, and with the same thing with the FBI, who, I mean, we all know they're not our friends now. But with Merrick Garland allowing the FBI, lists of parents who protest school board meetings, whether for CRT but other stuff. And I mean, we've definitely said it before, but it's like they wouldn't be trying to stop you if you weren't effective. They wouldn't be trying to stop James O'Keefe if he wasn't doing something. They wouldn't try to intimidate individual parents at school board meetings if they weren't important.
right. And if the things that all these people were saying were wrong, then they wouldn't have to stop us anyway, because it would be obvious.
Right.
So there's something going on here that they just don't want anybody to know.
Yep. Anyways, all that to say, have a fabulous Thanksgiving week, everybody. Have a grand old time, and we will be back with you next week. And again, check out our sponsor, Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. Again, our promo code is PIK Deplorables20 for 20% off your order. And check out her newsletter, because there's extra exclusive deals in there for you. Previews of upcoming yarns that she is putting out, different discounts, and she is doing a Christmas giveaway. So please sign up. Again, it is on her website, chickenladyfiberarts.com.
Yep. And make sure you follow us, YouTube, Rumble, click the bell, make sure you have notifications enabled so that if I don't send out an email, you guys know what's going on. We're on Parler, Instagram, MeWe, Telegram, Gab, Vero, Facebook. I don't know. I think I got them all. Yeah, so guys, make sure you follow us, check out our, make sure you're following us for sure, because the next couple weeks might be shady. So, and we will talk to you guys soon. Have a good Thanksgiving.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving.
And the rest of you, just have a great week.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.